It's always like that. Like what? Whenever I get to liking someone, they eat around a lot. Clint Eastwood is known for his gritty roles, steely stare, and no-nonsense attitude. But behind closed doors, there's a side of him few have ever seen. When the doors to his private garage were finally opened, what was discovered inside left everyone stunned. We're not talking about your typical Hollywood car collection. This was something else. From rare machines to mysterious items no one expected, Eastwood's secret stash is as legendary as the man himself. Buckle up, because what's hiding in his garage will absolutely blow your mind. Before the spotlight. Clint Eastwood was born in San Francisco, California, on May 1st, 1930. Right from the outset, he was a star. After the biblical strongman Samson, the nurses were so impressed that they named him Samson. The local newspaper even ran with the tale. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine that this would be his first taste of fame in Hollywood, but it was his big break. Living through the Great Depression, his middle-class Californian parents, Clinton Eastwood Sr. and Ruth Runner, struggled to provide for their son. His dad was in the steel industry and then moved into sales. In times of need, his mother would work in factories. Despite the hardships, they offered Clint and his sister Jean, who was born in 1934, a stable home. In their quest for improved circumstances, the family relocated frequently. These upheavals molded Eastwood's sense of independence and made him flexible. The Eastwoods had moved to Piedmont, California, a posh area close to Oakland, by the year 1940. Until the Supreme Court outlawed racial housing restrictions, minorities could not even purchase homes in this privileged neighborhood. The year was 1998. A swimming pool, country club memberships, and several cars belonged to the affluent family. A lot of households during the Great Depression could only dream of having these goods. A high school diploma eluded Eastwood. His low GPA made going to college and majoring in music an unrealistic goal, according to several accounts. He ditched school and dove headfirst into a slew of physically demanding jobs that would mold him into the man he is today. His life changed drastically in 1951, when he was drafted into the Army to fight in the Korean War. Serving as a lifeguard, he was posted to Fort Ord. Many at Fort Ord thought he was lucky while stationed there. Don Loomis, a fellow serviceman, recalls hearing from someone else that Eastwood was seeing the daughter of a high-ranking officer. If it is so, the relationship might have been useful when picking names for assignments. More than routine duties. His service in the military offered more than just mundane chores. While returning from a clandestine meeting in Seattle in 1951, he became embroiled in a struggle for his life. Near Point Reyes, he was a passenger on a Douglas bomber that fell into the ocean due to a lack of fuel. They swam several miles to safety, only equipped with a life raft. Even after that terrifying ordeal, he remained unfazed. After receiving his release in February 1953, he quickly began to follow a new course of action. It appeared as though destiny had brought him to Hollywood. One of the members of the Universal International film crew was at Fort Ord when they saw Eastwood and encouraged him to meet the director, according to a subsequent CBS press release for Rawhide. That story, though, has its detractors. Patrick McGilligan, his unofficial biographer, cast doubt on it. An alternate account attributed to a man named Chuck Hill is included in Eastwood's official biography. Hill, a Hollywood insider, was also a soldier stationed at Fort Ord. After re-establishing contact with Eastwood in Los Angeles, he utilized his connections to get Eastwood admitted to Universal Studios. Because of that, Irving Goldberg, the cameraman, was introduced to me. That encounter paved the way. Eastwood had an audition with filmmaker Arthur Lubin, which Goldberg set up. Eastwood looked dashing at 64 inches, but his acting was a whole other story. Eastwood was totally untrained, Lubin claimed afterwards. Even though he was clumsy and unsure of his stage presence, something about him was striking. Lubin got him $100 per week contract in April 1950, and that he pursued acting classes. There was no quick success from that contract. His journey in Hollywood, even before his signature clenched-toothed expression became famous, Eastwood was panned for being excessively stiff. Director Joseph P. rejected his tryout for 6 Bridges to Cross in May 1954. He persisted in the face of persistent rejection. In 1955, he finally broke through thanks to director Jack Arnold and a small role in Revenge of the Creature. It was a beginning, though it was little. His appearance in Tarantula in 1955 as a jet pilot was so fleeting that people hardly noticed it. This was the type of scene that happened and then disappeared completely. Despite his subsequent criticism of the film, he starred in Ambush at Cimarron Pass in 1948. The film's obvious premise and lackluster dialogue caused critics to rip it apart, despite following a group of troops as they tried to survive an ambush. While watching this screening, Eastwood sank further into his chair with each scene. At the end of the film, he turned to his wife and announced his retirement from performing. He contemplated leaving on a deep level due to his demoralization. He considered changing careers, or maybe returning to school. However, he decided to keep going instead of quitting up. Everything shifted after that choice. Following this, he was cast by CBS as Rowdy Yates in the Western TV series Rawhide, which revolves around a cattle drive team. Rawhide began filming in Arizona in the summer of 1958 and was shown in the early months of 1959. It reached the top spot in television viewership in just 3 weeks. Once upon a time, Eastwood enjoyed consistent employment and widespread renown. A significant increase over his previous wages, his salary is now $750 per episode. However, there were obstacles in the work. He put in 12-hour days, 6 days a week on set. Although the schedule was demanding, the exposure was priceless. Despite the fact that Rawhide catapulted him to fame, Eastwood was dissatisfied with the script. It was frustrating for Eastwood because Rowdy Yates was reckless and ignorant. He went so far as to label him the Plains stupid. He aspired to portray more weighty characters, but the program limited his versatility. The year 1965 was the beginning of Rawhide's downfall. That year, CBS canceled it due to falling ratings. It would have been devastating for a lot of actors' careers if they had lost a big role. However, Eastwood finally got the chance he had been seeking. Beyond television, he was prepared to go. He decided to take a chance since he wasn't getting the jobs he desired from Hollywood. In the same year, Sergio Leone, an Italian filmmaker, was casting for the lead role in his new picture, A Fistful of Dollars. Notable actors such as Charles Bronson and Henry Fonda had already declined the part. Someone who could command the screen with minimal words was what Leone was looking for. Someone with a quiet ferocity. That was an apt description for Eastwood. In contrast to Hollywood's recent clean-cut westerns, he perceived something unique in the screenplay. In this universe, heroes lacked inherent virtue, and quick, savage violence was the norm. That was his job. With a meager budget of only $200,000, A Fistful of Dollars was shot in Spain. An enigmatic gunslinger pitted 2 rival gangs against one another in this loose remake of Yojimbo, the film by Akira Kurosawa, which had previously focused on a nomadic samurai. A Western hero like Eastwood's character, later dubbed the Man with No Name, had never existed. The man hardly uttered a word. No one ever asked him to clarify. He let his poncho and cigarillo chew to convey his message. When it premiered in Italy in 1964, nobody was expecting much from the picture. Then it started doing well. The film made $14 million, 5 million copies sold globally, and provided viewers with a fresh take on the Western genre. It was also the first of its kind in Hollywood, ushering in a new era of gritty, violent spaghetti westerns. A fistful of money popularity made a sequel inevitable. Lee Van Cleef plays Colonel Mortimer, a bounty hunter out for vengeance, and Eastwood's character gets a partner in the 1965 film for a few more dollars. The plot thickened, the stakes rose, and the globe grew. Eastwood's presence grew stronger. With the release of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in 1966, Eastwood had established himself as a full-fledged cinematic star, and his star power continued to rise. The most famous of the trilogy's 3 films was the third. It trailed 3 gunners. Lee Van Cleef portrays the evil Angel Eyes, Eastwood, the good Blondie, and Eli Wallach, the ugly Tuco. While they dug for hidden wealth in the midst of the Civil War, Leon's direction had matured, and the score by Ennio Morricone made every moment unforgettable. One of the most memorable scenes in cinematic history is the final showdown, a 3-way duel set in a cemetery. The movies may have made Eastwood famous, but he and Leon didn't always get along. Production would frequently run behind schedule because the director would drag out filming. Since Eastwood relied on translators and Leon spoke Italian, the language issue created friction on site. Additionally, Eastwood did not like Leon's tendency to be overly verbose when giving instructions. Their relationship transformed cinema nonetheless, in spite of all these obstacles. While Eastwood finally said goodbye to television, Leon rose to become one of the world's most acclaimed directors. Eastwood's rise as a Western star, John Wayne and Eastwood were at odds when Eastwood became a Western star. Wayne had defined the genre for decades. Defending the cause of justice, his cowboys were heroic characters. Stories like bravery and the American dream should, in his opinion, be told in Westerns. That was not the case with Eastwood's films. In their depiction, ethics took a back seat to the need to stay alive. High Plains Drifter, a 1973 Western starring Clint Eastwood, was a film that Wayne detested. The plot revolved around a spectral tale of vengeance and was dark and violent overall. In a letter to Eastwood, Wayne criticized the picture, saying it was too cynical and didn't reflect Westerns as they should. He disagreed with Eastwood's interpretation of the genre and refused to collaborate with him on the never-made film The Hostiles. Their depictions of violence were drastically different. Wayne had an individualized policy. No one he wrote ever shot in the back. He thought cowboys should fight bravely. That guideline wasn't followed by the characters in Eastwood. To come out on top, they had to do what was necessary. The change occurring in Westerns was indicated by that distinction. The past was symbolized by Wayne. Something fresh was represented by Eastwood. Playing the role of Detective Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry, 1971, catapulted Clint Eastwood to HollywoodLegend.com. This wasn't your average police drama. It happened just when people were losing faith in the police and crime rates were on the rise. The public yearned for a fearless champion, an individual capable of stepping up in the event of a system failure. Callahan was precisely that. Regulations and bureaucracy were of little concern to him. He was solely concerned with apprehending lawbreakers. Because of that, he was beloved by some. Many were afraid of him and what he stood for. The real-life Zodiac killings served as inspiration for the film's direction by Don Siegel. Its grim realism resonated with viewers. In the film industry, Callahan stood out. Tough guy. He never let up. Plus, bureaucracy was something he couldn't stand. However, his approaches caused controversy. For them, Dirty Harry was an inflammatory call for police brutality. Even at the 102nd Academy Awards, protesters were carrying fascist-themed placards. Despite the backlash, it was a commercial success. Despite having a little budget, the picture managed to earn nearly $36 million until that one moment came along. This is the scene that made Clint Eastwood famous. Someone had just robbed a bank. Callahan aimed his .44 Magnum at a wounded felon who lay on the ground. He spoke the line while staring icily. There is a single question you must ask. It was all changed by that one scene. It went down in cinematic history as one of the all-time great lines. In Abrupt Impact, 1988. 12 years later, Eastwood repeated the feat. On this occasion, he entered a diner while the heist was in progress and pointed his revolver at the lone survivor. He spoke fearlessly and calmly, saying, "Go ahead, make my day." It wasn't only a famous remark. It became ingrained in American culture. The political sphere, as well as film and television, cited it. Reagan used it in to threaten to reject a tax hike in a speech. No matter how sincere their intentions or how lofty their dreams, I am prepared to veto any tax increase that Congress considers doing. Plus, there's just one thing I can say to those who want to raise taxes. Feel free to brighten my day. Cheers broke out from the crowd. Afterwards, it was named 6th on the list of the all-time greatest movie phrases by the American Film Institute. That being said, Eastwood was more than Dirty Harry. His work in westerns was already well established. His major hits. After Dirty Harry, one of his first big hits was High Plains Drifter, 1973. He portrayed a mysterious nomad who exacts savage vengeance upon a corrupt mining town upon his arrival. It was one of the highest-grossing westerns of the 00 earning $15,300. Josie Wales, the notorious criminal, arrived in the year 976%. For this film, Eastwood did double duty as director and actor. The video chronicled the Civil War-era massacre of a Missouri farmer's family at the hands of Union troops. When all else fails, he turns to crime and becomes a wanted man for the very men who brought him down. With a budget of only $3,700,000, it was a huge financial success, grossing $31,800,000. The cultural importance of the film was recognized when the Library of Congress placed it on the National Film Registry decades later. The 1971 picture, Escape from Alcatraz, which was based on the actual prison break of 1962, reunited Eastwood and Don Siegel. The escape plotter, Frank Morris, who he played, was a mastermind. A thrilling experience that left viewers on the tip of their seats. One of the most well-known jail escape stories of all time, the film grossed $43 million. Eastwood never stopped challenging the status quo, even as he aged. He portrayed the role of Walt Kowalski in Gran Torino in 2008, a film about a Korean War veteran who develops an unusual friendship with a Hong Kong adolescent. Though some missed the mark, the story was really about finding salvation. Some critics felt the picture perpetuated stereotypes due to its heavy use of racial insults. Actor B. Vang, who played Thao, later addressed the issue of viewers laughing off the insults rather than getting the point. Gran Torino was a huge hit, regardless of the criticism. Though it only had a budget of $33 million, it managed to earn $269 million globally. The film was viewed by some as a candid examination of cultural and generational differences. Some thought it was too broad. However, its influence was undeniable. Clint Eastwood didn't merely disappear into the background. He seized command and clung to it tenaciously. He won Oscars for directing and shaped modern cinema with outstanding pictures. And his acting career became legendary as well. He helmed the 1992 Western Unforgiven, which debunked traditional Western cliches. A former bandit named William Money was dragged back into bloodshed in this story. Actor Clint Eastwood brought a subtle intensity to the pivotal role he played. 4 Oscars were bestowed for the picture, including Best Picture. For Best Director, Eastwood received his first Academy Award. The role of the merciless sheriff, Little Bill Daggett, was played by Gene Hackman, who was awarded Best Supporting Actor. It was a groundbreaking picture that showed Westerns could have more than only heroism and gunfights. Eastwood delivers another masterpiece. His dark and emotionally charged drama, Mystic River, was directed by him in 2003. Tragedies and acts of violence devastated the lives of 3 childhood friends who the film followed. Jimmy Markham, played by Sean Penn, is a distraught father who has lost his daughter in a tragedy. Dave Bohl, portrayed by Tim Robbins, is a man whose past traumas continue to affect him. They were both honored with Oscars for their roles. 6 Oscars were up for grabs, with Best Picture and Director among them. A visceral and terrifying tale that shook the audience to their core. In 2004, Million Dollar Baby was released. The film gave the impression of being standard boxing fare at first. Playing the role of Maggie Fitzgerald, an underdog fighter with an innate drive to succeed, was Hilary Swank. Unfortunately, the plot veered tragically off course, delving into profound themes of loss and the need of dying with honor. The Best Actress Oscar went to Swank. The award for Outstanding Supporting Actor went to Morgan Freeman. In addition to being nominated for Best Actor, Eastwood won his 2nd Academy Award for Best Director. At the 77th Academy Awards, the picture took home Best Picture, solidifying his reputation as a filmmaker capable of telling moving human stories. While many like his flicks, not everyone did. Some caused a stir, such as 2090's Richard Jewell. An actual security officer was erroneously blamed for the bombing of the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games in this true story. The film's depiction of journalist Kathy Scruggs, which implied that she traded sexual favors for information, caused it to come under fire. A disclaimer was demanded by her colleagues and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who questioned this. The film's producers, Warner Brothers, defended it by claiming it used reliable sources. The film brought attention to the harm caused by the media's hasty judgments, despite the controversy surrounding it. In 2014, we had American Sniper, another divisive picture. The tale revolved around Chris Kyle, a sniper for the Navy SEALs, who had scored 160 confirmed kills. The picture received 6 nominations at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and was a huge financial success. Some thought it did a great job at capturing the emotions of being a soldier. Someone else said it didn't go far enough into the nuances of the Iraq War and was just too simplistic. In spite of mixed reviews, it went on to become one of the most financially successful war films of all time. Directing continued well into Eastwood's late 80s. He had the lead role in the 2018 film The Mule, which follows a middle-aged man who takes up harmful substance courier work. Regret and atonement were explored through a blend of dramatic and comedic elements. He helmed and performed in 2021, Cry Macho, at the age of 91. A film adaptation of a book from 1975 had been in the works for quite some time. Arnold Schwarzenegger and other actors were originally linked, but it was Clint Eastwood who finally gave it life. A former rodeo star was assigned the difficult responsibility of escorting a little boy across the border between the United States and Mexico. Despite the film's mixed reviews, it was remarkable to see Eastwood continuing to make films in his own unique style. His life beyond the screen, just like in his on-screen presence, Clint Eastwood's private life has been full of twists and turns. Although some of his children's identities remained hidden for decades, he has fathered a minimum of 8 children with 6 other women. Even Patrick McGilligan, his biographer, speculated that the actual figure might be more. It has been alleged that Eastwood became pregnant while still a high school student. There were problems from the beginning of his 1953 marriage to Maggie Johnson. One of Eastwood's affairs gave birth to Laurie Murray. He had several affairs. Nobody knew about her adoption until Eastwood saw her at a family gathering in 2018 when she was 64 years old. Despite being married to Johnson at the time, he dated stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis for 14 years. Kimber was born to them in 1964, but nobody knew about her until the National Enquirer broke the news in 1989. Actress Sandra Lockhart was Eastwood's girlfriend in 1975. Simultaneously, he had 2 children with Jocelyn Reeves, a flight attendant, without her knowledge. In 1986, their son Scott was born, and in 1988, their daughter Catherine was born. Both birth certificates indicated that the father declined, and Eastwood refrained from publicly acknowledging them for a long time. The actual number of his offspring is still a mystery, as he has never confirmed it. Roxanne Tunis lasted longer than most of his affairs. Meeting on the set of Rawhide in 1949, they stayed together until the early 1970s. Even though Eastwood was seeing Johnson at the time, Tunis was a divorcee. Although Eastwood was listed as Kimber's father on her birth certificate and allegedly provided financial assistance, their relationship was not without its problems. In retrospect, Kimber said that her father had rejected her and skipped her wedding in 1990. Notwithstanding this, he remained close to Tunis throughout her lifetime. It was said that Eastwood was distraught when she died in 2023, at the age of 93. Among his most tumultuous relationships was with Sandra Locke. They were professionally and personally interdependent, and they lived together for more than 10 years. Despite her secret romance with Eastwood, she remained legally married to Gordon Lee Anderson. In retrospect, she claims he told her she was his soulmate. In 1989, while she was overseas shooting Impulse, Eastwood changed the locks on their house and put her stuff in storage. Locke was taken aback. Claiming he had emotionally abused her and broken their agreement to financially support her, she sued him for $70 million in palimony. There was a settlement in the case. Undercover funding from Eastwood netted her $450,000 and a production deal with Warner Brothers. In 1996, she filed fresh fraud charges against him after learning about the arrangement. Their court fights went on for a long time. She went on to allege that her relationship with Eastwood was a living nightmare, and that he used her job and personal life as tools to maintain his dominance. Her confession of her profound love for him, despite everything, only served to heighten the pain of his betrayal. Frances Fisher, an actress, became Eastwood's girlfriend after Lockett's. The discovery that he had fathered 2 children with Jocelyn Reeves during their relationship in 1995 led to the end of their partnership. Pfizer was taken by surprise. She was caught unawares by the affair and found it difficult to absorb the news. Dina Ruiz, a television presenter, was Eastwood's bride in 1996. Theirs was the longest-lasting of his relationships, but by 2013, they were already experiencing issues. Speculation about the partner's infidelity began when Ruiz sought solace in an old acquaintance. By 2014, the divorce had been finalized. However, Eastwood's family drama persisted even after their marriage ended. Catherine, his daughter, went on social media in 2024 to accuse her stepmother, Dina Ruiz, and her siblings of mistreating her at family gatherings. Clint Eastwood's love for cars. While a student at Oakland Technical High School, Clint Eastwood had an early passion for automobiles. He learned the ins and outs of engines through his hands-on experience and formal auto mechanic training. An unquenchable fire was kindled in me in these classes. As an example of his rebellious nature, Eastwood frequently claimed that his only desires in his younger years were easy ladies and fast cars. Even if it was an exaggeration, His passion for mechanics and speed was genuine. He started taking cross-country road excursions across California by the age of 15. Even before he became famous in Hollywood, he adored traveling. His personal life and films, in which automobiles frequently played pivotal roles, were both impacted by his formative years. His first vehicle lacked ostentation. A 1949 Chevrolet panel vehicle cost him only $25 in 1951, around $206 today's money. A car wasn't the only thing it might be. During his early years in Hollywood, while he was fighting for survival, it became his home. A 216 cubic inch Thriftmaster straight-six engine producing 90 horsepower was installed in the vehicle. Considering the era, that wasn't much, but it served its purpose reliably. By insulating it with movie theater curtains and installing an old mattress in the back, Eastwood transformed the truck into a habitable dwelling. He later made light of the fact that the 3-speed manual transmission had taught him patience more than any acting lesson, since it was so difficult to operate. Even after all these years, he still has the truck in his collection, a sobering reminder of his early hardships after having it restored for $65,000. The Eastwood's collection blossomed into an extraordinary item as time went on. He exhibited a wide range of styles. He amassed a collection of automobiles that reflected the technological progress and design of bygone periods. He has a soft spot for Ferrari 275 GTBs. With its 3.3-liter V12 engine producing 280 horsepower, this vehicle is an Italian design marvel, efficient and refined. European sports vehicles aren't Eastwood's only focus, though. Along with that, he possesses a 1977 Pontiac Trans Am Special Edition, the very model that became iconic in Smokey and the Bandit. It features an Oldsmobile 403 V8 engine, a striking black and gold styling, and a large screaming chicken decal on the hood. As evidence of his admiration for automotive heritage, he also possesses rare prototypes of Chrysler vehicles that were never mass-produced. He has an eclectic collection of vehicles that are more like works of art than showroom displays. Even in his films, Eastwood's passion for vehicles was evident. The Gran Torino Sport, 1972. Ford is the pinnacle of this type. A representation of traditional American craftsmanship, this vehicle was driven by a 351 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8. It symbolizes Walt Kowalski's fading worldview, his principles, and his history throughout the film. He ended up buying the car once filming Wrapped because Eastwood loved it. The Pontiac Trans Am in Thunderbolt and Lightfoot are just two of the many vehicles from his collection that have made cameo appearances in his films. Cars weren't merely props for Eastwood. In the story, they played a role. In 1965, while he was starring in Rawhide, he made one of his most famous acquisitions. For $7,500, he purchased a Shelby Cobra 427 SC straight from Carroll Shelby, a small fraction of the car's current value, yet a substantial sum when paid at the time. What makes the purchase more special is the tale behind it. Shelby slashed the price of the Cobra by $1,000 after Eastwood drove it for a test drive, pleased by his driving abilities. A snag, nevertheless, was present. It was a condition that Eastwood drove it as if it were his own. By scheduling more than 50 track days at Willow Springs Raceway, he fulfilled his commitment. This Cobra wasn't your average one. Out of all the models ever made, only 29 were semi-competition models. The SC denotes that it underwent modifications for usage on the street after being first developed for racing. Its 485 HP came from a 427Q in Ford Vate engine. Such authority was practically unknown in the mid-1960s. It took the Cobra only 4.3 seconds to accelerate from 0 to 60 mph, and it could reach a top speed of about 165 km. Brutal, quick, light, and just about street legal were its adjectives. The unique elements left by Carroll Shelby herself are what set Eastwood's Cobra apart. During the 1990s restoration of the automobile, technicians discovered cigarette burns on the passenger seat. These marks were left by Shelby himself as he saw test drivers pushing the car to its limits. Shelby meticulously documented the cam timing modifications utilized during testing in handwritten notes found under the hood. Under the seat was a secret box that contained Shelby's own stopwatch and timing papers from her early track sessions. These intricacies elevated Eastwood's Cobra beyond its status as a rare collectible, a piece of automotive history that came to life. Despite offers of almost $5 million, Eastwood is steadfast in his refusal to part with the Cobra. This isn't about the money, in his opinion. The vehicle is a symbol of a bygone age, when speed and thrill were the primary design goals rather than compliance with rules. A testament to Eastwood's adoration of raw power, a work of Carroll Shelby's talent, and a memento from when they were both immensely successful, it serves as a poignant remembrance of those glory days. And there it is. Clint Eastwood's garage isn't just a place for cars. It's a vault of jaw-dropping surprises, rare treasures, and stories no one saw coming. Who knew the man with no name had that hidden away? If your jaw hit the floor, go ahead and smash that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us know what shocked you most. For more unbelievable celebrity reveals, hit subscribe and ring that bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you inside the next big secret. Click on the next video popping on your screen now.